Hello, everybody. Welcome to Let's Talk Football. My name is John Halpin, alongside Chris Palmer, and our special guest this week, Kevin. How you doing, Kevin?
What's up,
I'm
buddy?
good today. I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us, man. So, before we get started, tell me, Kevin, who's your team right now? Who are you repping?
Right now, in the background, I mean, we're hanging in there, but I'm a Saints fan, truthfully.
Love it. I love to see it.
Love to see it. We don't get many Saints fans here in New York, so thank you so much for joining us this week. So before we get into this week, we just wanted to make a quick announcement. So Chris Palma, you and I were both representing some shirts right now, and I see Kevin's representing the pink. Can I
Well,
see your shirt, Chris Palma? Can I?
well, yes. Like my co-host is saying, as everyone knows in the NFL, it is Breast Cancer Awareness Week. So we have gone and got some breast cancer shirts for this episode. This is our pink episode. For every like that we get, we will donate $1 to breast cancer awareness. So send that to everyone who watches this video. Send it to everybody so they like it.
So please let's get those likes, let's get those donations going, and man, let's get ready to talk some football. So, with that being said, you guys ready to talk some football?
Yes, I am.
Let's get it.
Let's do it. Let's start by going right to the Big Easy. Denver Broncos coming to New Orleans to play the Saints last Thursday night, but it was that Denver defense, man. They were really showing up and put up a show. The final was 33-10 Denver. Oh man, Kevin, tell me, what were your thoughts on that game?
So heading into that game, honestly, I was hopeful. I didn't really see too many downsides from the young QB Rattler, but I figured because the Broncos we're still not too much of a hot team that we can go ahead and take what we had as a loss last week against, you know, honestly, it just felt like we were gonna go ahead and go through the motions to get him to get the ball to somebody other than Rashid Shaheed.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody like a tight end, like maybe Jawan Johnson can wake up from slumber. And maybe we can take the heat off Kamara because we were dropping like flies. So we all seen the game. It was the first game of the week. Fourth quarter, I was still watching. It was a struggle. Yeah. They did bench Rattler. We did end up with 10 points. It was embarrassing, but I still feel like we just need to get back to it. We need to go ahead and make stops. We weren't able to stop the run at all. They were running all up and down. Sean Payton was using, he was using that young QB as if he wanted to use him like how when we acquired Taysom Hill,
Mm-hmm.
and we were running down the field, but Taysom Hill is not really a bang up guy. This guy Bo Nix was running, and he was kind of getting down the field, and like I said, it ended up how we ended up.
Yeah, it was a rough loss for the Saints. But CP, what were your thoughts on that game?
Well, you and I, Kevin, we texted a little bit during this game. I said you have to take what you see from the Saints with a little bit of a grain of salt right now. Mm-hmm. They have 6 huge name injuries, Rashid Shaheed being one of them. Mm-hmm. Derek Carr being another, so you have Spencer Rattler. You really got to take what you see from him with a grain of salt, too. There's a lot of growing pains that's going to come from Spencer Rattler. He needs a lot of developing. The team, it really isn't ready for any pure form of success, but we'll get into it deeper when it comes to expectations and what the reality with the Saints are. Mm-hmm. For the Broncos, though, good, strong statement win. That defense has awoken.
Yes.
For sure that defense has awoken.
Oh yeah, Denver's really cooking with a fire defense right now, but we're gonna really dive more into the Saints later on in this episode. So let's move on to the last London game of the year, the New England Patriots and the Jacksonville Jaguars. We do have other international games, but this was the last one, I believe, in London. So, but the Jags had a win, 32-16. I guess this was, someone had to win this game. I guess technically not, because ties do exist.
Trevor was cooking with some gas on that day. I seen him. He finally got his stride, and yeah, it really was. It was a throwaway game, but at least they came away victory. It was something to see at 9:30 in the morning.
Right. At the end of the day, it was a football game at 9:30 in the morning, so you got to stay positive about that.
Yep.
Like one of the age-old sayings, "A broken clock is right twice a day." So good win for the Jaguars, but remember, you beat up the potential first overall of the league, so there's really not much to take away from it. Just bully who you can and try and make the other games competitive, because the Jags are not far out of the same vein as New England.
I mean, the Jags might be wanting to play the Patriots every week, but I think every team would just love to play the Patriots every week.
Please.
Go to New Orleans every week. Oh man. Oh, great, gentlemen. Let's move on to a clash in the NFC North. The Detroit Lions and the Minnesota Vikings in an absolute thriller of a game. Lions came away victorious 31-29. This could have been game of the week. It really could have been game of the week.
Honestly, for me, it felt like Jamar Gibbs really took the show. It was a struggle. I mean, it was back and forth. Every 2 seconds you see a pass down the field. It was a sack where Goff would be on the floor and he would get back up and they would try to run the same play again. It was a lot of like key decisions in the fourth quarter that kind of just like made the day. That fumble recovery touchdown by Jalen Naylor.
Mm-hmm.
That really was really decisive. Where they needed to hold, there were cracks inside of that defense, and Sam Darnold just couldn't make it up the field. And I guess it was coaching, because they almost nearly snuck away with that penalty. And the last second, they threw 1 second back on the clock, but it was hard.
Yes. CP, what were your thoughts on this game?
I love this game. Remember, going into this week, this was my call for the game of the week, and they didn't disappoint. When it comes to the Vikings, I hope that this isn't a start of what normally happens, where they just like fizzle into the middle of the road of the pack, and then somehow, some way, they take themselves out of the playoffs. Because right now they're hot, and they just unfortunately lost to a hotter team. Detroit's ready to win a championship, and I won't be swayed on that one. They're ready to win a championship.
Right now, it's looking like the Lions might be the best team in the NFC, but right now they are the best team in their division. They take the lead in their division, 5-1, tied with the Vikings, and have that tiebreaker. So that is a big win for the Lions right there. Let's move on to Buffalo, where the Tennessee Titans came into town. And it took a little while for the Bills to wake up, but the Bills eventually woke up and beating the Titans 34-10. Kevin, what are your thoughts on the Bills this year?
The Bills every year always look like the Bills, and it's like a ironclad suit where Josh Allen is gonna pull away with the easy W's. Adding Amari Cooper onto the team, I mean, of course he's gonna win. But let's see if they can hang on. I'm not so sure that I'm sold 100%, because when they had to win against stronger teams, they kind of don't show up.
Mm-hmm.
So my decision is, I guess, I'm glad they won. But let's see if it's next week is the same thing. Well
said, Kevin. Well said. CP, what were your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, same thing. You always got to remember what Buffalo is capable of. They're capable of putting up points fast. They're capable of a one-punch knockout type of touchdown. Mm-hmm. But like you were saying, they fall into issues where they don't win in clutch situations. Josh Allen has his over-aggressive throwing where he just throws bad interceptions at bad times. So it's the same old Bills. It's what you see is what you get, and you got to know what they're capable of, but know that they're very capable of beating themselves as well.
Well said, CP. Well said. Man, it's unfortunate for the Bills that they're gonna have another great season, probably squandered by the Chiefs in January. It's just unfortunate that way, but
Unfortunate truth.
but it seems to be a yearly tradition now. But
They just keep winning. They just keep winning. They just keep acquiring. There's no stopping them now. It's just like
I don't understand.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy too. But man, let's move on to Miami Dolphins going into Indy to play the Colts real quick, because the biggest threat, I guess, in the Bills division, would be the Dolphins. And I say would be because Tua's been out for a while. Dolphins lost this game 16-10, and they are really falling behind in that division. Is Tua expected to play this upcoming week?
Well, he's been cleared by medical officials. He still has to clear concussion protocol.
Mm-hmm.
He is practicing throughout this week, and he's hopeful to play Sunday. However, if he does play, he has made a personal choice not to wear the Guardian cap.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the first reaction I had too, but he has personal reasons, and from what I understand, there is a new company making the helmets for the NFL
mm-hmm.
that 3D prints the padding formation inside the helmet. You know, like the one George Kittle has with the really front forehead thing?
Mm-hmm.
Those are the new wave of helmets coming in, where they make the padding with like cross-weaved 3D printers. And it's a custom type padding, and I think he's going to aim towards that route. He didn't specify it in his meeting, but I think that's the road he's going to go down and get that type of helmet and get a custom built pad for his head versus just a Guardian cap.
He needs something.
He needs something.
He needs an extra layer of something.
He needs bubble wrap.
Put a bunch of bubble wrap on his head. We can't have Tua go down on the field again. Then you start looking at the NFL as a whole, like
you're wronging this person.
Exactly.
It's just how many times are you going to wrong him before it's enough is enough?
But that's Flacco, wasn't it? Was that the wise move for them to have? Well, I mean, now Tyler Huntley is injured again, so.
Oh my God!
Well, he was out with a shoulder injury, so now I guess we have to play the winning quarterback. Let him have his shine.
Hey, Joe Flacco was in the market, man. The Dolphins could have snatched up Joe Flacco, but Colts got to him first.
I could say him on them.
Joe Flacco cost a pretty penny.
He's putting up numbers.
He's putting up, That's Hall of Fame Joe Flacco right there for you.
That's Hall of Fame Joe Flacco for sure. That's Super Bowl champion Joe Flacco to you.
Damn straight, baby. Damn straight.
Tight ends, he's good.
True. He's lethal. Lethal. Oh man. Let's move down to Atlanta, where the Seahawks came to play the Atlanta Falcons. This was a close game up until the late third quarter, beginning of the fourth quarter, where costly turnovers cost the Falcons. Seattle won 34-14, but man, turnovers late in games, we say it all the time, they will kill you in the end. You will lose games because of them.
Hey, when I watched the game, it was very close. I think that Seattle had the resilience to go ahead and compete today. DK Metcalf was activated, and I know it feels like once DK is in the game and he's ready to play and there's no complaints, they have an awesome running game. It gives a little stress to Gino, and Gino can pick up the yard. Gino was playing football. Like I realize once you get the quarterback and a couple of receivers, or even though he was getting tackled and there was a couple fumbles or interceptions that were thrown, it just seems like they kind of moved like a working motion card. So I think that they did really well.
Well said.
Yeah.
CP, what were your thoughts on this?
100%, Kevin. I agree with you. When it comes to Geno Smith, he has found the culture that wants him. You know, we speak about it a lot on the show when it comes to players finding the proper culture to play for. You know, sometimes you are a good player in the wrong position. You know, look at Sam Darnold right now. He went from the Jets to Minnesota, and now he has one loss to his name. You know, look at Baker Mayfield. He's gotten consistently better and totally revived his career.
Mhm.
Look at Matt Stafford. He spent 10 years in Detroit and then went and won a Super Bowl ring the next year.
Yep.
You know, so we see it all the time where it's all you need is the right placement. And to your point, I think Geno Smith has found his place. But, you know, helping you and I watch these highlights yesterday, and it was 3 bad turnovers in a row by Kirk Cousins. A fumble brought back for a touchdown, and then 2 bonehead interceptions. First one was thrown into triple coverage, and then the second one was overthrown by a mile into triple coverage. So that one, it looked like you were forcing in out of just sheer frustration. We will get more into the Falcons because I have a soft spot for the Falcons this year with what they're doing. But that stint, that final stretch of that game, that was bad. That was some really poor football.
Yeah, and like you said, we'll get more into the Falcons later on in this episode because they have a divisional game matchup against the Buccaneers. So that's going to be really fun to talk about later on. Let's move on to, instead of Tampa Bay, let's move on to Green Bay, where the Texans took on the Packers, and this could have been game of the week as well. A highly competitive game, an intense game. Packers came away with the win with a last-second field goal, 24-22. But man, these 2 teams just look like they are playing at the highest level that they can.
Yeah.
But Kevin, let me ask you: who do you like, and who do you trust more come January? The Texans or the Packers?
You can sit here and say that both defenses, pound for pound,
Mhm.
you can say they can go either way. But offensive wise, I think Jordan. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of I like Stroud,
Mhm.
but just like you said, just like Chris was saying earlier, it's where you think that you gel with. And I never thought that Aaron wouldn't belong on the Packers. But then you see Jordan get into the stride and how he kind of wins games. He kind of just wins games. I wasn't on the playing field when he first got in the league, but
You and I were talking about that.
it's like okay, like you see him take his hits because he's not perfect, but when he gets down into the field, I like how he celebrates because he needs to. That's what I think.
I like that. I like that answer. CP, what were your thoughts on this game?
This game was great, man. From the look of just these 2 teams and all the other young talent across the league is in good hands for many, many years. And for the next long amount of years as well, Houston Texans and Green Bay are going to be in the conversation every single year.
Mm-hmm.
These 2 quarterbacks are just ready to play. They are both ready to win championships. These 2 coaches, Matt LaFleur, when he decided to take the leash off of Jordan Love, it happened last year. When he just decided to take the reins off and tell him to go throw the ball. Throw it far, throw it hard, and play and do what you got to do. Gave him the freedom to become the franchise guy. And look at him now.
Yeah, it's his team.
It's his team. And now you look at Houston, the same thing is happening with CJ Stroud.
Mm-hmm.
He has the freedom to do what he wants with the talent that everyone wants and needs across the league. These 2 teams are leaving the league in good hands right now.
Absolutely, I agree 100% with both of you gentlemen. That was very coherent. I would really, and I think a lot of people wouldn't mind this to be the Super Bowl matchup later on.
I would love it.
Yeah.
Oh, I would love it.
But it seems like maybe one of the 2, but we'll see, man. There's a lot of season left to be played, man, and hey, anything could happen come January.
Right.
let's move on to Cleveland, where the Cincinnati Bengals came in, and it was Bengals came away victorious 21-14. But the bigger story here was Deshaun Watson having a Achilles tear and is now out for the year. Now Browns fans in the stadium. I know. CP, you and I, we spoke a lot about this yesterday. I'll just say this: Browns fans in the stadium on Sunday were cheering and enjoy that this man got injured, chanting, "You deserve it." I just want to say to all those individual people who did that, you're shit humans. Like you really are. Like, because no player and no person ever deserves to get injured. You can feel free to criticize, a player, his off the field allegations and stuff like that, but no player and no person ever deserves to be hurt. So I'll pass the torch over to you, CP, because I know you and I got into a really good conversation about this yesterday.
That was listen, as fans of the game, we are entitled to the right to criticize, right? You want to boo the product on the field, boo the product on the field. You can do that all you want. You do that proudly. You are entitled to that as a fan. You don't like the player that is helming your team. Fine, you can boo his product too. But he goes down. And I mean hundreds of videos start coming around of the fan base cheering, laughing, chanting you deserve it. And then the video comes around of Deshaun Watson hysterical on that freaking cart driving back to the locker room. Mm-hmm. Take away what we're actually watching right now. Take away the game of football and look at the holistic sense of what happened. A man went to work and he got hurt on the job, and you're laughing at him for it. That is disgraceful. That's disgraceful. I'm not a Cleveland Browns fan. I'm not a Deshaun Watson fan. I'm not a Deshaun Watson fan as a player or person off the field. The man just ruptured his Achilles to the point where you could see it from a 10-yard sky cam away. Fully receded up into his calf. Mm-hmm. That is a major reconstructive surgery. His career may be done. That is the truth of it. Shame on the Browns for letting that happen, and shame on the Cleveland owners who still have not made a statement about what happened that day. Shame on the Browns as a franchise. It is shameful to know that fan base is in the same division as the Steelers and the Ravens.
Yeah, it's very
If I was every star in Cleveland, I'd be in the office every day saying, "Get me out of here. Get me out of here." Because this fan base does not care. Fair weather like a motherfucker.
I'll tell you this, and I'd like to get your thoughts, Kevin. Browns fans would not be cheering for him to get hurt if he was winning. If he was winning.
There
exactly.
It
is. Exactly.
And if he was acting like Deshaun Watson's from the Texans, and that's why they acquired him, and even after the allegations and he got back on the field with Nick Chubb on the field, we got somebody back and we lost somebody. Mm-hmm. It just seems like that's a cycle that happens with football in general, with being a contact sport. But just like you said it exactly what it was. If a man was at work and a horrific accident happened, and let's just say if it wasn't a player, if it was somebody on the sidelines that got ran into, because that has happened before,
right? Like someone on the chain gang.
I can't see that being a response. And once again, if not the Browns, then the NFL. Like, where's the leaders to set what's like? Just like you said, it's all about the opinion of what we give off to other countries on a sport that we love. Mm-hmm. And that does not seem like a way how we should do it anymore.
It's shameful. Yeah. Shameful.
Absolutely.
They should be ashamed of themselves.
There's so much to unpack with Cleveland, and I'm sure we'll talk more about it as the season goes on. But man, this was a bad day for um, Deshaun and just the sport of football as a whole in the city of Cleveland. Let's move on to New York, where it's not that much better, but at least they're not cheering for people to get injured. But this was the Saquon Barkley revenge game.
Yeah.
And this we kind of figured was going to happen. Eagles blew out the Giants 28-3. It wasn't even close. It was did kind of at least what we expected. But Kev, what were your thoughts on this game?
AJ Brown was active, just like how DK Metcalf was active against Atlanta.
Mhm.
AJ Brown decided to go hand in hand, and just like what I said, with the Saints lack, the Eagles started to show dominance on the run game, which gave the over the air. The secondary they were blitzing more to compensate for Saquon. And as soon as they started to blitz AJ, you can't man defense AJ Brown. You can't do that. And we seen it. He was open. He was wide open half the game. Or they can double down and still get eaten up for 100+ yards.
Mm-hmm.
They were relying on the defense, and it seems like they got a little bit more than what they asked for. So,
yeah, well said, Kevin. Well said. CP, what were your thoughts on this one?
This is, like you said, it's a much expected win. I kind of throw the Eagles in the same vein as the Bills right now, where you got to know what they're capable of. Again, they can score in a hurry, they can put up a lot of points, and they can hold you to not many points. But they are also very capable of beating themselves. They're in that conversation right now where you don't really know what to make of them. You don't know which Eagles team is going to come out.
Mm-hmm.
Is it going to be the Eagles team that can come out and put 30? Or is it going to be the Eagles team where Jalen Hurts has 2 fumbles and an interception, they put up 10?
Mm-hmm.
With 70 yards and penalties.
yes.
Because that happens. And it's happened this year already where they've killed themselves with penalties where Jalen Hurts hasn't played well. So there's much to be desired with the Eagles. You see it. You see the championship caliber of play they can do.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know that they're the same menace that they were last year, where it's just every year, every team looks at them on the schedule and they say, I don't want to play them. I think there's teams in this league that are like, bring them.
It's doable this year.
Right. It's doable this year.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And hey, we'll see how the season carries on for the Eagles going forward. They do, I agree with both of you 100%. They can really just get in their way, and you can't put man-on-man coverage on AJ Brown. Man. He's
That you
too
can't
lethal.
You cannot.
He's too lethal. So let's keep an eye on the Eagles going forward for the rest of the year. Let's move on to LA, where the Rams took on the Raiders. CP, we spoke about this game last week, but this was again a low-scoring affair, kind of gritty and grindy. But the Rams came away victorious 20-15. I did see reports that Cooper Kupp was able to play last week, but they held off, so he will be starting for them this upcoming week, this Thursday night against the Vikings.
Yeah, Kev.
Right now, I have a fantasy league with my girlfriend, and we started. It's a 1-to-1 week, so we're going to play one player from each team, and then that's it.
Okay.
We started Brock Bowers, and that was a great decision.
Mm-hmm.
In our retrospect, they didn't win, but they seem to know the Raiders. With given that the new head coach, it's like they're still trying to find their way. They're still giving away almost everybody that they have. They still have Jacoby Myers. They still have some good key players to hold down. The run game was there, but I don't know. It just seems like they kill themselves. They shoot themselves in the foot. So most of the time on offense, going for it when they didn't need to. Sometimes when they could just play a defensive game because their defense is active. the defense gets stops. I don't ever feel like watching Oakland. I mean, sorry, Las Vegas.
We know
I
what
understand. We understand.
and thinking, you know what? This isn't a good team to root for. But they, like I said, it's them versus themselves.
Yeah, they've been in a mess of problems for a very long time, and it seems like they just keep stockpiling bigger problems. Something I did see earlier this week. The total change in dynamic with Max Crosby and the Raiders. Earlier this year, he was on a podcast. He said, "I'm a Raider. I want to be a Raider. I don't want to be traded." Just a couple days ago, he was escorted out of the Raiders facility after cursing out the team, cursing at the coaches, and talking shit about the facility, wearing a Detroit Lions hat.
Excuse me. Oh,
you
know how lucky it is.
So let's drink out of that cup for a second. If Max Crosby goes to Detroit, what the actual fuck is that defense?
You know, that Detroit always needs key players to win, and they have the money to get it. I think it's a money thing.
It's a draft capital thing.
Remember back in the day when certain players were stuck to a specific team and they're there until they either retire, get injured, and then they move their way on silently to another team. Now they're big old statements. There's people refusing to play after they get the check. Mm-hmm. I feel like they want to get paid first, and then they'll move so the team that they left continues to pay them, and then they work out a new deal for the time being. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's a little prima donna-ish to me.
It's getting there.
Yeah.
Getting like basketball.
Started with Odell. And then now everybody wants to be, well, who was from the Steelers,
everyone wants to be Antonio Brown.
Yeah. AB, we shouldn't speak his name, but.
We can speak his name.
You got to turn around.
Mr. CTE.
I was gonna say someone's got to remember AB's career because he doesn't. He does not remember.
He doesn't remember anything about his career, but he doesn't have CTE.
Yeah, nowadays, right?
Well,
I'm saying that it just seems like it's just prima donnas. They just will just if the money's right, they're gonna leave.
Right.
Just one last thing with AB and Le'Veon Bell. I see on Insta it's CTESPN, and I'm like, that's funny.
Oh my god, that's actually epic.
And it's actually kind of fitting for both of them.
Yeah.
Oh man, let's move on to Washington, where the Carolina Panthers came into town, got trounced. We kind of knew that, but the bigger story was Jaden Daniels going down with an injury,
rib injury.
Yeah, rib injury. So he's probably going to miss a good stretch of time. But Marcus Mariota came in and took care of business. Looks like the offense didn't really miss a step. But again, Jaden Daniels down for a little while. But Kevin, tell me, what were your thoughts of Jaden Daniels for what he's done so far this year?
He's phenomenal. It makes me feel like, as a rookie, that's what I wanted to see out of Rattler. Mm-hmm. You know, back in the day, it was like either you're a pocket passer or you're Lamar Jackson. Oh. And it just seems like there was never a real in between. Jaden Daniels seems like he was a mixture of both. Mm-hmm. They were up 20-0 when he got injured. Mm-hmm. And it was a shocker because the fact that he was able to still walk off, they wanted to keep the hope alive because why is he coming back onto the field instead of sitting down? Mm-hmm. You know, when a player comes out with his gear still on, with his helmet, you know that you can hide the injury. But he came out clearly in regular plain day clothes and stood to the side while Mariota did his thing. I'm kind of, that was a worrying sense of why is he so accurate? Where was he sitting down the sidelines? There's teams that need quarterbacks like him, and he was just magically. They know Washington knows though, so I noticed.
Oh man, CP, what were your thoughts on this one?
Just an unfortunate injury to Jaden Daniels. I did see that he was day to day. Going into this week, he may miss this week, but I don't think there was anything clear and broken in his ribs.
Mm-hmm.
It is on his throwing side, so it is causing him some discomfort when he throws.
Mm-hmm.
But Jaden Daniels is special, dude.
Yeah.
Like Kevin, like you were saying, back in the day, it was you were a stand-up pocket passer or you were a gunslinger where you could launch it down the field, and that was really it. You had a cannon for an arm or you were precision. That's what it was. And then the triple option was born. And here we are 10, 12 years later from when the spread offense was born. And now everybody can run. Everybody's crazy athletic. Everyone can throw the ball on the run. And what I'm noticing, a lot of these new quarterbacks have a background in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
That's an interesting thing that I'm starting to notice, and it started with Russell Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people forget that he was drafted by the Oakland Athletics before being drafted to Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
So he has a baseball background, and that's kind of where this is starting to become a thing where you see a lot of these quarterbacks who are doing all the rollouts. They're athletic enough to be baseball players.
Same with Mahomes. He has a baseball background as well. And that's a very interesting point too. Just seeing the evolution of quarterbacks and how like the younger generation develops into the quarterbacks that we see today, where they're just multidimensional, and it just opens up so much of the field where it's just so fun to watch. And so, despite the injury to Jaden Daniels, Washington still has a very bright future ahead of them. So,
Yeah.
with that, let's move on to San Francisco, where the future may not be looking so bright for the 49ers. But Kansas City came into town. This was the Super Bowl rematch, but Chiefs won 28-18. Despite it being a 10-point game, the 49ers really shot themselves in the foot this game. Costly turnovers late in the game, and Kansas City capitalized, and they did what they did. Mahomes did not have a good game either, but he did enough for the team to get the win. And now Kansas City is the only undefeated team remaining at 6-0. Tell me, Kev, I know we're not going to talk much Chiefs this episode, but do you think that there's a good chance of the three-peat happening this year?
With the pickup that they just got,
Mm-hmm.
let's just say like what we were discussing before, where sandbagging is a thing. Was he sandbagging on the Titans? Do you think that he was sandbagging on the Titans? That's a real question that I want to throw back at your way. Because that doesn't seem like, he never seemed like the true DeAndre Hopkins as he usually was.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure he's going to wake up today. I don't know. I feel like, to be honest, the Chiefs are gonna. Let's just hope not. But I don't want to curse it. I love Patrick Mahomes and what he has done as a quarterback and how he's changed the game and how he can make something out of nothing. If something out of nothing was a character, it would be Patrick Mahomes.
That's very true.
Brady was calling that game, and you realized he really didn't have too much negative things to say about his play.
No,
because it was just good enough, and that's how he used to play.
Mm-hmm.
Just get the first down, just get 5 more yards, and yes, there were some missed tackles that went for 20 yards. His longest run of his career happened that season, and I'm like, what was he really doing? I once again, it's Patrick Mahomes. Maybe the Chiefs and the refs. Sorry, it's Patrick Mahomes, the Chiefs, the refs.
You're forgetting one key component: Andy Reid.
Andy Reid. Yes,
that
sir.
is the key to that machine. Is Andy Reid.
Yes.
Without him, Patrick Mahomes would not be Patrick Mahomes. I don't think.
Yeah.
He's a great quarterback. Without Andy Reid, he would not be who he is.
I agree with you, CP, and there's so much to be said uh, with Andy Reid and the Chiefs, but acquiring DeAndre Hopkins for just a
Huge.
5th-round draft pick.
Hold on.
Um,
Pause.
con-
That Devontae Adams trade set the market for blockbuster trades for a McChicken and a sweet tea.
Okay, is anyone ever going to tell Jerry Jones that he can get these players for
nothing?
for nothing?
You want to get these for a dog treat? Like,
Hey, Jerry.
yo.
A sweet tea and a McChicken. That sounds like a good dinner, actually.
The Saints don't have any money, but Jerry, you have money.
God damn it, Jerry.
You got money. It's America's team. It's America's team. It's not your team. It's America's team, Jerry.
Definitely America's most expensive team.
Well, somebody better get Jerry Jones a phone, because I don't think he's calling anybody to make these trades.
I don't think he knows how to operate a phone anymore.
Oh, shit. 5th-round draft pick. Man, absolutely
Garbage.
crazy. So we got 3 final games to talk about for Week 7. Let's go to the Sunday night primetime. The New York Jets coming to the Pittsburgh Steelers. CP, we spoke about this game a lot last week.
That was a
Steelers-
drawer we opened, my friend.
Steelers won 37-15. Your thoughts, my friend?
Russell Wilson is going to be the starter. He earned it. I think he earned it. 3 touchdowns, a 37-point outing, clean football. You know me. I thought Justin Fields played great. I felt he earned it. But I also said on this podcast, you have to let Russell Wilson show if he can or not. You have to let it happen. And he answered just about everything I said I wanted to see. I said, if you can show me 30, give me touchdowns, and play clean football. He did that against what you and I literally said was going to be one of the hardest defenses he plays.
Mm-hmm.
And he made that defense look like a group of children. He really did. It looked like old school Russell Wilson, and it looks like he has a lot left in the tank. Again, it's all about culture. The culture of Denver didn't want Russell Wilson. Pittsburgh wants Russell Wilson. I think, barring injury, Russell Wilson will be our starter from here out. We will still see Justin Fields. I think they're still going to use that tandem idea where they have a specific package for him. But I do also feel Justin Fields is our quarterback for the future. I feel we found both. We found the guy who can get us a playoff win this year, and we found our future in a quarterback.
I like it. Kev, you were gesturing, my friend. What were your thoughts on this one?
I'm not gonna lie.
For a 5th round.
When Russell went to the Broncos, I said, why he loved Drew.
Why he got to do that?
Why he did that to us? And then they took our head coach, and then I'm like, who's making the plays here? He went to your team, and just to roll off what you've been saying. At the beginning, everybody had their doubts. Everybody seen what he did in Broncos country. It was on fire. The meme was that was the funniest meme I've ever seen.
One of the greatest of all time.
I love it.
But I love Russell, and he cooked. Like, give him. It was a couple 3-and-outs, but like I said, no interceptions, nothing too crazy, no risks. And when he saw the openings, he got it to where it needed to be. And your team shined on defense. Of course,
we always do. It's just what it is.
Defense first. But with Russell, yes, keep Russell in. Yes, I like Justin Fields. Yes, he is. You can even say, like you said, he is your future, because that's where the league is going. Regardless of what we want to say, the league is, you have to be mobile and then pass second. And as you go on, then you'll understand that you can pass. Now look at Lamar. That's what they kept him on the field. They trained him day in and day out, and now look at it. They really don't talk about his passing anymore, and they probably won't talk about Justin Fields' passing anymore either after your season is over.
We'll have to see about that, because Justin Fields definitely has a very good arm. He is quite accurate, 66% completion rate in those first 6 games. 10 touchdowns, 5 passing, 5 rushing. Again, he put a good enough report card to earn a starting spot. That's why I feel he found his future contract at the end of this year.
Mhm.
That 6 games earned him an extension, I feel.
I mean, we'll have to keep an eye on the Steelers going forward for the rest of the season. Next week, they have a Monday night game against the Giants before their bye week. So let's keep an eye on the Steelers. I mean, yeah. But then the gauntlet happens. And then,
But then the gauntlet after the bye.
Yes.
Then it gets harder.
But eat your Lunchables. Eat those G-men up. Eat those
Eat while we can.
Yeah, absolutely.
Take your bye week.
Second bye.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Let's move to Tampa Bay, where the Steelers put up 37, but the Ravens and Lamar wanted to put up more than the Steelers.
Motherfucker, you.
Ravens won 41-31. The score was a lot closer, but it really opened up for the Ravens in the second half. Lamar, 5 passing touchdowns, another Jackson 5 game out of Lamar. Derrick Henry, 169 rushing yards, just absolute, breaking the back of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But the bigger story here is who the Bucs lost. Now, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, earlier in the game, they lost Mike Evans to what appeared to be a hamstring injury. And later on in the game, they lost Chris Godwin to an ankle injury. So both looked pretty bad. I don't know the status of them as of this moment, as of this recording, but that was a huge loss for the Buccaneers.
Yeah, the Bucs, Chris Godwin, he's out for the rest of the year. It was a dislocated ankle.
Oh, okay.
And Mike Evans, it was a hamstring injury. He's going to be out up until at least week 12.
Okay.
So total implosion on the Buccaneers offense. Those are 2 heavy hits.
And just to roll off what you said, they did play hard. In the beginning of the game, they have an extremely high-powered offense that they were running with. But the Ravens seem to have a different... The Ravens know how to win. They just seem to have a different way of doing it this year. And the acquisition of, Derrick Henry, it's so, deceptively devious that you guys are going to release Henry at the second half. You guys held him. And then, you know what? The defense is banged up. The defense is a little tired. Let's just release Henry. Let's release him. And as he runs all over, because he's fresh legs.
Oh, yeah.
Every run seems like 30 yards. Pushing people. They couldn't guard him before. They're not going to guard him after, getting banged up by this high-powered offense already. So,
Derrick Henry is 6'5", 250 pounds. You face that 30 times a night. It doesn't matter how good your defense is. You're hurting and you're tired and you don't want to do it anymore come the third quarter. You don't want to do it anymore. So come the third quarter, when this man has the tank that is 80 gallons long, come the third quarter, he's still running for 12 yards and he's putting 3 people on the floor. Especially now that the Ravens have learned to put a fullback in front of him.
yes.
Putting him at a free lane to the second level is the best thing the Ravens ever could have done. The best thing they ever could have done is putting a fullback in front of him.
Oh, yeah.
He's looking for the touchdown every time.
Every time.
And you could tell where other running backs kind of have that first burst of speed and stop. But then you see these guys like Bijan Robinson, Grease Hall, that kind of just extend the play. Like the first burst was just a cut. The second burst is just, you got to stop me or else I'm gonna score. And those push tackles that these, like my defense included, love to do, that's not the tackle that you have to do against a character like that. You need to get 2 hands around his legs and wrap him up, and he probably will still push you over.
Yep.
Right. You got to have multiple heads on the ball with all of those running backs you just named. Multiple heads, and you still got to expect for a fight.
Yes.
3, 4, 5 people will still bring you 7 yards.
This is what we watched. What
Right.
we can't see the highlights.
Right. There's just certain things you can't do against certain running backs. And going against Derrick Henry with one person is one of them.
Be a Ravens fan this year. So I
Should be
see.
fun.
I see. It must be nice looking over there.
It is a fun time to be a Ravens fan. Ravens moved to 5-2, currently on a 5-game winning streak, and we start our divisional games of shortly. So I'm interested to see how that's going to turn up for the Ravens. So let's move on to the final game of this past week, which will segue right into our game for this week. The Cardinals and the Chargers. I don't think a lot of people watched this game compared to the other Monday night game, but Cardinals won 17-15. I guess the big takeaway here is Chargers doing what the Chargers do. And that's blowing the game right at the very end in the fourth quarter. It doesn't matter the head coach, doesn't matter the quarterback, doesn't matter the team. It just seems to be a running theme with the Chargers. And I guess, Kevin, you might be chomping at the bit just hearing all of that. Be like, hey.
So understand, they shoot themselves in the foot. It was when I watched it, I didn't watch it live because I know the more important game was on. But as I watched the highlights, I saw a more back and forth riddled with this bad plays. And I have a soft side for the Cardinals. I really wanted them to win. I like Kyler Murray. I like how they do things over there, but the Chargers, they're not the Chargers anymore, giving away all their key players, their chess pieces, like their running back. They just have to rebuild. I guess they're in rebuild mode. Mm-hmm. There's no real reason to continue to discuss, like you said, the head coach. Doesn't matter the coach. Doesn't matter anything. They just gotta be a better team overall.
Yeah, no, for some reason I don't understand that anyone who puts on a Chargers uniform on the offense, they refuse to grasp the idea of a 2-minute drill. Mm-hmm. The Chargers just refuse to learn how to have a 2-minute game. They cannot win late in the game. They can't hold the win off. I don't understand. This has been 4 years we've been doing this podcast. 4 years we've been saying the same thing about the Chargers. They have no 2-minute game. What the fuck?
Oh man. So I think this is probably the best time to just segue right into our first game, because for week 8 the Saints play the Chargers. I think it's very fitting, right?
Yeah.
So Kevin, I will just pass the torch to you, my friend. What are your thoughts going into this game? Now, wait, I do have one question, and you might be the best person to ask this. What is the status with Derek Carr? How long is he injured for? What was his injury? Because I'm a little behind on the Saints news.
So Derek Carr currently he's injured. Let me see here. It says right here that he was injured with a rib injury, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And he's supposed to. He's not going to be started this week coming up versus the Chargers. They're going to go with Rattler again, and only because of the fact that we had a couple of injuries. Right now, Shaheed is indefinitely with that knee surgery. He's out. Lattimore will be back. Taysom Hill will be back. They said that they will be starting this week. Hopefully, Kamara has a hand injury though. It just seems like there's still a bunch of key pieces that we need to put together to scrounge a win. Just like you said, the 2-minute drill for the Chargers is something that we can take advantage of. But all in all, in good football, if we have to go ahead and stand up against, the Chargers, we have to start hard. We have to go ahead and do better tackling. We got to attack the ball. We got to do more blitz. We can't allow Dennis Allen to ruin our team anymore. We have to. I just think that we lack in offense as far as play calling wise. There's no 5-yard play. There's no definite quick snap to make up yards. We always try to play weird football at the 3rd down mark, and they rely on Kamara or they rely on a quick drag. It doesn't seem like we have good football, and I guess if we could pull something together, hooray! But it will just be a start to see what's going on with Rattler. and how we can incorporate him more into our offense while waiting for Carr to come back. So.
Hey, that's very well said, Kevin. And it's not easy to be very objective about your team, and I really respect that. That you're willing to be very honest about just the state of the team. Right? It's not. It's very tough just to see how the Saints are looking. But CP, I want to ask you real quick. What are your thoughts on just like the state of the Saints and going into this game against the Chargers?
Well, off the top, again, it's unfortunate the injuries that have happened over the past couple of weeks. I just looked it up. Derek Carr is out for this week for sure. But he is there's promise that he'll be back for week 9 against the Panthers, which would be a great rollback game, like a comeback game for him. He could walk into the doormat of the NFL. But when it comes to them now, with Spencer Rattler at the helm, this falls into what we were talking about like 2 weeks ago when it comes to the development of young quarterbacks. So Spencer Rattler is what? He's a sophomore, right?
Yeah.
He's a sophomore now.
Yep. Oklahoma.
He was drafted, if I'm not mistaken, as a sophomore in college, right? So he's 24 years old?
Yeah, maybe.
So you got to think, when you're a sophomore in college, you have 1 year of collegiate ball under your belt. So your main background is high school ball.
Yeah.
That's your main background of football going into the pros.
They're coming at him like bat out of hell.
They're grown men coming after a high schooler.
Yep.
I think that in a holistic sense, it's grown-ass men coming after a high schooler. So when you think about that, you really have to take what you're about to see before this week, again, with a grain of salt, like I said last week. There's going to be talent gaps, fundamental gaps that you just can't get away from. And that just comes from sheer development and where Spencer Rattler is at this point in time in his career. He has a lot of fundamental developing to do before he can be a starting quarterback. I do still think he is in a good position to learn because Derek Carr is a really good locker room guy. But they need a lot of work, and their offensive line is on the downhill. Alvin Kamara, I saw he was actually he's in the final works of an extension. So he's signed. Okay.
Yes, 2 years.
Good. That's a good thing. So he's going to be there for a couple more years. Michael Thomas, he's no longer there.
No longer a Saint.
He's no longer a Saint. So now you got to worry about getting a number 1 receiver. You got to get a bunch of linemen, and you got to get a backup running back.
Yeah.
I wouldn't, because again, this is turning into a running back by committee type of league where you can have one stud and watch all these other running backs with 2 or 3 really good running backs, and they're just winning games more fluidly. I'm not going to say the Saints are staring down the barrel of a rebuild, but I think they're entering that purgatory area where they could go left or they could go right. And if they go the wrong way, it could put them in fast forward to a rebuild.
No. Continue.
I thought we had our 1-2 punch when it came with Paul Williams. And many, I thought he was a great pickup from the Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
And just like last year, for some reason, we are cursed. It's like for some reason you get to the Saints, and this is where you die. This is where you retire. Emmanuel Sanders died.
Not Jameis Winston, man. Not Jameis Winston.
Not Jameis. You're right. He was live.
Well, Teddy Bridgewater. Not sleeping.
But it just seems like we need a lot more. Like you said, it's the 1-2 punch. We have Kamara. We re-signed him. We don't have a line to push that offensive rush, or maybe it could be the play call. I'm at a. I think we already need to rebuild. That's where I'm at. It's not.
Okay.
It's against the Broncos. It was in plain sight. It was more than just. I watched the locker room post game, and even the players say it themselves. They don't want to say it on camera. That it's like a they're questioning the coaching, they're questioning whether guys need to recommit. They're saying a lot about more so that they just need to double down. And that's why I'm going to go off yours as well.
So I got a question. Who do you feel the Saints should turn to in the locker room to boost the morale if the morale is that low right now? Who can they turn to?
They rallied around Carr. And if not the quarterback that was just like when Drew was injured the first time and Jameis had to rally around, the whole team had to rally around Jameis, and I was with it. He came from the Bucs. He learned, he seen Drew, and before the commotion, we had a little bit of a stride going with a 4-game win streak that year with Jameis. And it seems like the quarterback is where you would naturally turn. And maybe we don't see a lot when the Saints lose. You don't really see a lot of Derek Carr on the in the quarterback's Rattler's ear, giving him tips. He's watching tape with the coach. He's not really getting a corral. The team is not getting hyped up. This is at the Superdome now. If we can't win at home, where do they think that they can win? And as a fan, it's just like I said, it's more than what a player can fix. Picking up Marquez Valdez-Scantling recently, just that sign, and it's another one of those tropes, like a Band-Aid onto something that's more of like a knife wound. So,
yeah, I mean, now, Kevin, let me ask you real quick. What were your expectations for the Saints before the year?
We picked up Derek Carr. We started to put together the pieces. We let go, Michael Thomas. And it seems like we were getting out of the slump that was the Saints of the years where we were just trying to maintain after Drew Brees retired. Drew Brees retiring, Sean Payton switching sides, because you know what I'm saying? It just seems as if that obviously once Drew retired, Sean gave up on the team completely. It just seems like that was his man. And if he wasn't going to do it with Drew, he's seen the signs. We tried to put Taysom Hill into being a replacement for what the league is progressing to be. And he kept on getting injured. He never really had the arm. He was inaccurate. There were so many things plagued with him. We made him a gadget guy, but we don't really know what we want to do with that gadget. There's other teams like Arizona, like the Lions, like the Steelers that have these trick wheel route plays that you could kind of throw in a gadget guy. You can kind of mix up the look on offense, and we stick to the same thing. It's a surefire way to get more and more players injured if they know all they have to do is guard the deep ball to Shaheed. We're not going to win a game. So now I'm looking forward to the future, and this is trying to maintain hope of a better pick next year in the draft.
Well, I wouldn't count your guys' year out just yet. Don't count your guys' season over. You gotta remember what you guys are capable of as an offense. Remember how hot you guys started.
Yeah.
The problem is the Saints always start hot.
Yes.
They always start hot. And then they're like the Vikings, where they start to fizzle and end up in the middle of the road. Injuries and what have you, they somehow, some way start to change their progression towards the playoffs.
Yeah.
I think with the returning of Derek Carr, you guys are still capable of a playoff appearance. And like you guys definitely still need some pieces, but I think he can bring you guys to a playoff appearance. A playoff win is going to be a hard one.
Yeah.
But a playoff appearance, I think, is possible.
I agree with you.
It's definitely possible, right? Because the NFC South, historically, right, has not been it's been a very winnable division by any of the teams that, because it's fluctuated all over the years, right? Like the last decade, right? We saw the rise of the Falcons, right? We saw the rise of the Panthers. We saw the rise of the Saints were still competitive. Tom Brady going to the Bucs, right? And then now it's kind of stayed with the Bucs with Baker, right? But it's still obtainable, right? It's still an obtainable division to have. I think a lot of what ails the Saints is depth at a lot of key positions. They have really a lot of contracts that they've signed have really in the past have really put them at cap hell, where it's like for the last couple years they haven't been able to really, aside from Derek Carr, really sign anyone else other than Derek Carr. And exactly. I mean, yeah. So it's like you also gave Taysom Hill, was it a 4-year, $40 million contract?
Johnson as well.
Yeah. Exactly, like these massive deals, right? And then I'm gonna toss a few names at you real quick. So Shaheed, obviously he's injured, right? Olave injured as well, right? Like, so your next wide receivers: Cedric Wilson Jr., Mason Tipton, and Bub Means.
Bub.
That last one sounds like a default character in Madden. But that's your wide receiver depth with the injury of those two players, right? And I think that the Saints, since Drew Brees has retired, and maybe while he was even there, they asked a lot of the vets to do a lot of the heavy lifting. That defense right now that you have, it's still Demario Davis,
yep.
Cam Jordan, the Honey Badger, just to name a few. These guys that have stuck around for a long time. Obviously, Demario Davis and Cam Jordan, they've been there forever, right? But they ask so much of them, right? Like Demario Davis, like he's entering like what year is it now? Like he's.
Let's see.
But it's
Mario
like, man,
Davis.
can you really expect that? Like at least 10 years. Like this dude's been doing
it in year 11, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
it's like drafted third round of the 2012 draft.
So this is his 12th year.
The 12th year. So don't expect him to be here next year, I don't think.
Yeah.
So
he was a face and we have to replace. But there's some awesome young, middle linebackers out there that we're not necessarily scouting.
Mm-hmm.
Look at who we've passed up on, who entered the league and they've been all-stars.
Mm-hmm.
It's scouting as well. We have gaps in scouting. We're investing money in places we don't necessarily need to, and we're acquiring veterans to, like you said, build up the youngsters who we barely even scouted to begin with. So it's a mess over it.
Yeah, it's like an Ouroboros. It's like a snake eating its own tail, right?
Yeah,
that's the thing. Is like the Saints. I think in order for the Saints to really, if this season is unsalvageable, right, you got to accept the rebuild at that point. And because just for cap freedom, the financial freedom, and then once you do draft players, you have them on rookie deals. And we've seen teams where it's like trying to restructure contracts and everything like that, but it's like majority of those players will be on their rookie deal for the first couple of years while they're still viable and competitive. And even the quarterbacks that are with those teams, some of them take less than market value, but yet still have good players around them. For instance, the Lions with Jared Goff, right? He's taking below average money for his position, but he's able to get Jahmyr Gibbs, who's on his rookie deal, right? They're able to sign David Montgomery and Amon-Ra St. Brown, I believe, still on his rookie deal. And you have all these guys where it's like you're able to have the financial freedom to then still get, say, a Max Crosby at this point in time.
Yeah.
So right now, but the Saints have shot themselves in the foot year after year, like you said, acquiring veterans and hoping to just kind of reload. And I think maybe this year might be the year to rebuild. And I love Alvin Kamara. Don't get me wrong; he's one of my favorite players. Palma knows for sure.
There's a soft spot for Alvin Kamara on this show.
But there is a market for him too. And
Yes,
the
there is.
Saints, and although like he did sign an extension, though, I mean, would a first round draft pick would that be very valuable?
That's you know what?
It's hard.
That's my heart right there. That's my heart.
I know.
That's
I
you know,
know.
But
I have that's Kamara. That's my only other jersey that I
I was
have.
gonna say, you got that Kevon jersey?
And I'm telling you, I would have put it on if it was, breast cancer awareness. But like I said, I'm with you on that because now, what's the sense in holding on to your key pieces if you overall are lacking in so much? And back in the day, the Saints were solid on offense, but we lacked key pieces in our secondary that we had to acquire. And then we became known for a team that had really good defense. And then we love those. We love to see the turnovers, and we love to see the defensive side of the game as much as we are offensive. But we have to do the same now for offense.
yeah, it seems almost like you guys are falling into the same problem that the Falcons had have had for a bunch of years, where they have a bunch of good players at the wrong time.
Yeah.
Where they have a bunch of good players in a bunch of key positions, but they kind of lack depth. They kind of lack leadership. They kind of lack a coaching scheme. They don't really have a true identity as to who they are, but they have a serious defenseman. Back then in the Falcons, it was Fletcher Cox.
Yep, Fletcher.
And now with the Saints, it's you guys with Cam Jordan.
Yeah.
You guys have some serious defensemen for leadership. Your offense is kind of lacking. You guys are almost, again, you are in that purgatory stage where you could end up in a rebuild. And if you don't play the rebuild smartly, you're going to be stuck in that purgatory for quite a while. And we've seen teams get stuck there and they can't get out. The Giants are there right now. The Jets have been there for 53 years. The Panthers are neck deep in it. The Jaguars are there. The Cardinals have been there. They became a rolling dumpster fire last year. But you guys are a more disciplined franchise. I feel, looking back at all those poor contract signings, I would hope that you guys would take that, learn from it, start new with all fresh draft choices, and then try and come out strong in the next couple of years. When teams go into rebuild, Halpin knows this, I give them about 8 years to see if it worked or not. I did it with the Raiders when they drafted Derek Carr. I said, give them 8 years, they'll be a playoff team. They were not. I was wrong. So I think that is like a good realm of time because you need time to put the right places, get the depth, find the coach, get everything. So if it takes longer than that, then that part didn't work. You got to try again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think you guys are looking at that, but at the other way, you could see a lot of success.
Where we do shine. And it feels just like we said, we were talking week 1, week 2. We did have this in mind that we had to wait it out.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't seem like it wasn't working. It just seems that we got the right Derek Carr. And just like you said, all it takes is a little bit more discipline.
Mm-hmm.
And even though I may think that I think it's coaching entirely, but it's more or less like let's not wait until it gets too far gone that we can't even pinpoint the positions or specifically the management that needs to change now to salvage a team to make it grow without having it be destroyed anymore. So
now, Kevin, there's one name I wanna bring up real quick. Mickey Loomis. I'm sure you're very familiar with that name.
Get him out of here. He can't, like I said, he can't scout. He can't actually be a GM. I just feel if you want him, take him. Take him.
Oh,
No thanks.
He's been with the team since 2002, and obviously there's a lot that has happened with the Saints organization from 2002 to now, right?
Yeah.
I think maybe it should be time for Gail Benson to kind of look at Mickey Loomis and be like, you're not making the right decisions as of late. And
she's too nice.
she is. And Loomis has been there 22 years, and I mean, there's some decisions he's hit home runs on. Like to get Sean Payton, to get Drew Brees, those were home run decisions that changed the franchise forever, right? They are immortalized in that 2009 season, right? But everything since then, right, has really kind of been sometimes by luck and sometimes by just pure happenstance, right? The Saints are one of those weird teams where it's like they've had to shake voodoo off for years.
Mhm.
And it seems that now they're trying to do the same. You kind of just have had bad voodoo for what seems to be over 15 years now.
Yep.
And now it's like, but who's been the one constant in that 15 years? Mickey Loomis. So I think when you look at, and we've talked about it on the show before, where it's like when you look, the fish stinks from the head up. Like, so I think it's one of those things where it's like, can Mickey Loomis make the right decision and going forward for this team? And if not, is there someone else that can make the right decisions for the Saints? Because when they're good, it's great, right? It's fun to see. It's fun to see the Big Easy, right? But when it's bad, you're one game different than the Panthers, and that's very sad.
How many times are you going to lose over 40 at home? Watching the fans clear out.
I know.
Before the second quarter is over.
It happens too often. And it's a shame. It is. But it's, for this season, there's still a potential there. But maybe instead of wins, right, you got to be looking for growth in certain positions, in certain key spots where it's like, okay, maybe wins aren't it. But maybe if Spencer Rattler looks better this week than he did last week, and it's like, but still loses, right? It's like, okay, but he was 20 for 25, 250 yards, a touchdown, and interception. I'm like, okay, we can work with that, and then just take it from there, take it to the next week, right? I personally, I never thought Dennis Allen was really a good head coach, so they need to get rid of him.
Okay, please,
yo, get on the phone.
Please. But I know Mickey's not going to do that.
Mickey ain't going to make the call.
You know he's
No, he's got the same phone etiquette that freaking Jerry Jones does.
Mickey Loomis is sending a heart, like, kissy face texts to Sean Payton saying, miss you.
Yeah, he's like, new phone, who this?
Yeah, he's not even. He hangs up. Drop 40 on him, please. Huh? They only dropped 30, but like I said, it feels like, just like you said, maybe I say Dennis Allen, but it's even further. It's Mickey. I mean, Gail adopted the team from her late husband.
Mm-hmm.
She has connections with the whole crew. Dennis Allen was our head defensive coach. She might not want to see him go. They might be eating Thanksgiving dinner together just to keep the job.
I could see that.
But it doesn't seem like the fans are going to speak up. The fans have already started speaking up. It just seems too long ago to keep blaming that we don't have our Hall of Famer anymore, because now he is, right? So I feel like, just like you said, either we cut the head of the snake and rebuild, or we keep on working with what we have and start fortifying the positions for sure, instead of just saying what if, or do we have a leading wide receiver who was the top guy? Not. I'm gonna sit here and say it again. We may have acquired. Well, we did acquire Marquez Valdez-Scantling, but at what cost? At what contract was he signed to? Was it one of those pickup 1 year? What are we doing there?
Right.
So,
well, they go into LA to play a wounded Chargers team, and right now the Chargers are a team that they kind of have accepted the rebuild, right? They're a team that has accepted this rebuild. And so it's like they were kind of seeing that week by week with the Chargers, where it's like they're still going through their growing pains, but they're finding an identity. they're more of a run-heavy team, a run-oriented team than they have been in years past, and that's a lot to do with the change of coaching and management. And now it's Jim Harbaugh's show, and he's like, no, we're going to be an old school football team. We're going to run the ball, and we're going to play defense. Now, obviously, the Chargers are sitting at 4-3 at the moment. They're not looking. Let's be honest. They're probably not going to win their division, right? Like, that's the Chiefs.
No.
But they're a team that it seems that they were not they were willing to make some very bold decisions, especially in the offseason. Getting rid of Keenan Allen, getting rid of Mike Williams, drafting Joe Alt over Malik Neighbors, and just little things like that, just moves that were like, oh, they're really shifting over, right? And I think that sometimes teams need to, if you're going to be in a rebuild, you have to embrace the change. And some of it's going to hurt, right? Some of it's going to hurt. Like, I'm sure a lot of Chargers fans still miss Keenan Allen and for all he's done to the city. But is it going to be worth it in the end? I don't know. Like, right now, the Chargers have a more viable season than the Saints at the moment. And their odds of winning their division are probably less likely than the Saints winning their division, which is like, I haven't looked at the odds, but the NFC South is still kind of open right now. Obviously, we're going to be talking about the Falcons and the Bucs, right? Both are 4-3, right? The winner of that moves to 5-3, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if the Saints win and they are able to kind of stack wins, they can creep up. It's they can't get in the way of themselves and just kind of, you have to accept the growing pains. But you got to put the trust in your players. You got to put the trust in your coach week in and week out until, the off-season strikes. Then it's like, okay, then you're able to make those changes. I wouldn't make any drastic changes because we see how the Jets look when they make split-second decisions and they want instant gratification. It does not typically work out in the NFL. So a rebuild takes time. And that's the thing, is like, if you don't accept the rebuild, right, you can kind of end up like the Jets, right? But if you do, you can end up like the Chargers, 4-3 and competitive within your conference.
Decent.
100%.
I feel like I'll go on with that as well. And look at teams like the Titans. They
have no identity.
No, and then they gave away Derek. So and then now they're giving away DeAndre, and it's like, well, Will Levis wasn't really that that guy.
No,
and you just going to Wolves. He's taking scoops of mayonnaise.
Will Levis is on drugs.
Bro, those commercials, bro.
He's on drugs. Of all the companies to become a spokesman for, Hellman's Mayo.
Oh my God! This
making 17 commercials in 2 months.
The Mayo Man, okay.
Bro, he is the Mayo Man. Let's move over Gerard Mayo. It's Will Levis.
It's Will Levis time. He is the Hellman.
I just don't want to fall into that category. So I'll go on with what you just said, and we just got to be more aware. Like, let's just hit it where the players know it. Everybody knows it. It's just like you have to either you buckle down and not complain. You're grown men. Grown men lose. We're not the Jets. But let's not turn into that kind of mentality where day in and day out you start to play lazy football and you don't go as hard as you did once the game started in the first quarter, in the fourth quarter. Because the difference between getting blown out is you actually tackling somebody. Play defense a little bit.
Yeah, and that's kind of circling back to my question earlier when I asked you who would they look for that pickup? Who do you turn to? If the locker room is lost, right? If you're a coach and you have lost your locker room, they are not listening to you during practice. They are not listening to your hype show. You have lost them. who do you turn to then? As a player, who do you turn to? You have to turn amongst yourselves. There should be a veteran in that locker room who is bringing all those young guys together and saying, listen, we are representing a city. This is why we're here. This is what we need to do. And it should be Cam Jordan who's doing that for that team. I'm sure he's doing it on the defense, but it's up to the offense to retain the message that he's sending. Mm-hmm. He's not doing it to be malicious. He's probably going to curse them out a little bit and say how fucking bad they're playing because they are playing poor to a fundamental standpoint. So where Halpin is saying, look for growth. Look for the fundamental growth in Spencer Rattler. Look for the fundamental growth in your journeyman wide receiver. Look for growth in your young linemen. This is a good feel-out game for what your future could be with the guys you have. Mm-hmm. Because the Chargers don't have much of an identity themselves. This is a good opportunity where you can go and pull out all the stops with some question marks. Mm-hmm. Just go out and play tough and have fun. If you guys are going to throw in the towel and look for a rebuild, go have fun and see what you guys are capable of.
Play a trick play or two, dude.
But if you guys are going to commit to this year, you have to make the decision which one is which. You cannot play in between. Because that is how you get in your own way, because you start making decisions that don't work for each other. They don't work for each other. You make a decision that's leading toward a rebuild that is not going to help for a winning season, and vice versa. Mm-hmm. So you guys as a franchise need to figure out where you guys go before, during, and after this game. If you're playing for a rebuild, play healthy, play smart, play strong. But if you're going to play for this year, you have to win this game.
Yeah. No ifs, ands, or buts.
Absolutely, gentlemen. This was so great to just kind of get into the Saints, because there's a lot to unpack. There's a lot of layers to not only the game of football but also to the teams. But let me ask you guys: do you guys have any final thoughts on this game? We're not making picks just yet, but like any final thoughts?
Please win. Oh man, that's all I can ask. I just want. We need it. I could sit here and pick rocks if we don't, because then we have to think about next year. If we do win this game here, then there is hope, because that breaks the 5-game lose streak.
Yep.
That brings hope back into the locker room.
Right.
That
puts hope back in the cells.
Exactly. And it's like the heartbeat gets back there. Then we know what we can do. And just to answer your question, if not Cam Jordan, then this man that just signed the contract for 2 more years.
I'm Camaro.
Please, right? If he's been here the longest, he's not a rookie anymore. He's not with Mark Ingram. There's nobody else like him. So let's go ahead, and they pay you for a reason.
Now it's your turn.
Exactly.
Yep.
Car just got.
Right.
You've been there.
Right. I agree. You should have that locker room. My final thoughts to the Saints: finish your fucking tackles.
Oh, come on. Come on.
My God. Finish a fucking tackle. If you guys tackle efficiently against the Chargers, you really should have no problem winning that game. But if they let loose and they get into the open field, that's where the Chargers hurt. They hurt in the open field because they have a lot of speed. Mm-hmm. But if you can tackle them and get them at the first level and be menaces and hurt and be physical all game, that's what they don't like. They don't like the old school physicality, and the Saints are known for the old school physicality.
I feel like when you go up against the Saints, the key to win against the Saints, that it seems to me this year, is just watch the tapes, because the Eagles saw it, right? And it seems like everybody worked from that Eagles game.
Yep.
And every time we've lost, it seems to me that tight end position is free every week. If you play fantasy against the Saints, expect the tight end to score. You're
tight end underneath, right?
All the time. Two, now our chinks in our run defense. Now, before last year, a season before that, you can't run on the Saints.
Mhm.
Now, just like why you would bring up Cam Jordan, we brought Chase Young in.
He
So
takes it off.
You can't, what's the point if you are still running all 100+ yards a game?
Well, Chase Young, I've had love for Chase Young since he was been drafted, but the more I watch him, the more I see the truth to his stereotype. He gives up on plays. He gives up. He
Yes.
takes plays off, and when he really shouldn't. You know, he notices the ball's going the opposite side of the field, and he gives up. If he just ran, he has 4.5 speed. He can chase. He could be one of the craziest chase down D end in the league. But he takes plays off. He's back in the huddle before the play's even over.
One
So
sack.
So what does that do?
What deal did we pay for him, Mickey? What did we give him?
It just wasn't the
What
right
bad decision did you make that got him there?
You know, it's like, why would you take the time to scout a player to pay him millions of dollars when we are in debt? When we could use this money to better the team just to make a Band-Aid feel like a stitch. Like he's not. It's so weird that they still can run on us, just like you said. I watched it. It should not be. Chase Young should be the first person attacking the quarterback at every play. But other players are attacking the quarterback before Chase. What is he known for now? Just like you said, the stereotype that we thought last year, where it just seems like it's just more of what we've seen, and that's why they gave him up. That's why they gave him away. We take garbage players so they can retire.
Early retirement for Chase Young.
Oh my God!
I mean, there's a lot of good food in New Orleans. I can see why a lot of people want to go there.
Hey, nice weather.
Nice weather. You get the occasional hurricane, but nice weather. Po' boys are good there.
Exactly. Food's great.
Yeah. Oh man, I will say, again, the season is not lost for the Saints, but this is kind of a must-win. Reason being is because we have the Bucs and the Falcons playing again this week, and obviously, Bucs and Falcons, the only two contenders for that division. Carolina, we'll talk.
Young is starting. He's starting.
Bryce Young is starting, but oh man, like I'm sure Paul and I know we're gonna get into the Panthers at some point in the season. Like it'll be fun, but
I'm not looking forward to that drawer either. I want you to know that.
Hey, Halloween's next week, baby.
Drawer.
I don't even know if this bad anymore. They disappeared.
They're extinct now. They have gone with Cam at this point, but there are new Bucs fans and new Falcons fans emerging because of these teams, and I think it's also good to talk about it for this week because both teams are 4-3, right? And as much as this is like the turning point for the Saints, it's also the turning point for these two teams, right? Winner takes the lead in the division, but it's not a runaway. It's not a runaway division like anyone outpacing anyone, right? But the Bucs. Let's turn to the Bucs, right? They had some big losses on Monday night. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Those are you can make the argument the two best players on the Bucs, but they're certainly two of the best players on the Bucs, and to lose both of them the same game will change the offense completely because now they have to run the ball very efficiently. Which, I mean, to the Bucs' credit, the last couple games they have been running the ball well, right? But it's not enough, right? Now Baker's going to have to go into that depth, right, that we talked about with the Saints. Saints lack that depth at certain positions. Now the Bucs were very top-heavy with Evans and Godwin. Now they kind of have to go in depth with, wide receivers and all that. Now, their defense is still kind of solid, but man, the Falcons, they're really starting to open up that playbook. They're really starting to find their identity with Kirk Cousins. And it seems that their season is just dependent on Kirk Cousins. He's going to ride and die with them. Like the Falcons are going to ride and die with Kirk Cousins, just like we saw last week, right? They were riding with him for 3 games. Seattle came to town, and they died with him for
Yep.
3 ugly turnovers that changed the game completely. But I mean, there's a lot to like with the Falcons, right? There's, obviously, if you don't like Kirk Cousins, right? May I offer you a Bijan Robinson, who is
Right.
who is an absolute stud of a running back, who is that hybrid running back that Kevin, when you were saying earlier, where he's got like that second speed, where he can make you miss and then kind of get into that second gear.
And you get ready up for the next play to play right again, just to start again.
Exactly. There's a lot to like with this Falcons team. For me, it's their defense that worries me. They're not quite there just yet defensively. And the Bucs still kind of lack that defense too. I think both teams really got a shot in the back last week. A good wake-up call for both teams. And I think that whoever's going to win this one, they kind of have to align themselves right this week. Otherwise, it could get out of hand very, very easily. But Kevin, let me ask you, what are your thoughts on this Bucs Falcons matchup?
I think that because Baker is who he is, they're gonna lose.
Ooh.
I don't
Wasn't expecting that.
Wow, that was a left turn.
Hey, because I know I see vintage turnover. He's baking some apple turnovers. He just kind of he's been playing solid.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not knocking away anything that he's done.
No, but no one's above criticism.
Exactly. And Kirk Cousins, it has his same faults as well.
Yep.
But I think that it's all going to be a running game, right?
Mm-hmm.
And given the injuries that Tampa Bay has right now, it won't make up for the already, yes, they had a hiccup last week. But if they go at, the Bucs with the same regiment that they did versus the Saints, versus everyone but the Seattle Seahawks,
Yeah.
they will get it. They can get it done. I feel like I like the run heavy. I think it's Tyler Algier.
Yep.
That's the secondary. And I like the 1-2 punch. If Bijan is a little bit tired, you got somebody who's twice the size of Bijan ready to go right underneath. And I think it's a battle of the defense that's going to be the deciders, give or take. So I don't know if they can make up for it play-wise, losing such 2 huge all-star receivers like Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. So I don't know.
No, that was well said though. CP, what are your thoughts on this one?
See, going into this game, before what happened over the weekend, I thought this game could have went down as game of the week. But now this game has a different feel to it. On Tampa's side, again, the absence of Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. And now on the Atlanta side, now you know me, I've had a soft spot for Atlanta all year so far.
Mm-hmm.
I love what they've become. They are a great zone running team. Kirk Cousins has bought into the system of Atlanta. The team has wrapped themselves around him. But now the ugly side of Kirk Cousins showed himself last week, where he gets frustrated late when things don't go his way on the field. Plays aren't going his way. They're getting a bad 3 and out. He gets frustrated. Someone makes a good play on defense. I don't fault Kirk Cousins for that fumble return for a touchdown. That was a great defensive play. I don't fault him for that. But that was his mental turning point. He, for some reason, once that happened, it just spiraled out of control into the Kirk Cousins that you saw before he tore his Achilles. When he was playing inconsistent football, you saw that ugly side of Kirk Cousins come back around. So, like I was asking you with the Saints, like going back to Tampa, who does Tampa turn to in times like this? Every report is that Baker is the perfect locker room guy. He's one of the boys. He comes out and lifts. He acts how everyone is. So it's when it comes to the Bucs, I don't see them having an issue with chemistry on the field. Helping you and I kind of spoke about this a little bit today off camera. Their problem is going to be scoring at will, like they used to.
Mm-hmm.
When they're at full force, they can score at will. Totally score at will.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're going to have to see if Baker Mayfield has evolved. He was a game manager most of his career.
Mm-hmm.
Can he turn into a field general and bring a bunch of journeymen to a hard-fought win against Atlanta, against Kirk Cousins, who is another career game manager?
Mm-hmm.
This is almost like a mirror match between Tampa and Atlanta right now. You know, minus the riddling of injuries on Tampa's offensive side, they're more or less identical. They're still developing a harsh run game. They have a tough defensive front. They have a quarterback who everyone's buying into. Secondary, both, they could use some help. The middle is great. And they're both ready to score points in a hurry. Again, the problem is Kirk Cousins' frustration and now the holes on the offense of Tampa.
Yeah, and to both of your points, I think last week was both quarterbacks. You could say the same thing about both quarterbacks. Both quarterbacks' turnovers that they did, multiple turnovers, changed the game.
Yes.
And it was at different times in the game, right? Kirk Cousins, that was like late third quarter, early fourth quarter, but he had three ugly, turnovers that really sealed the deal for a Seattle victory. And then early on in the Tampa game, they were up and they were about to score. And they had a flag that was thrown back. They settled for 10, and they were coming down the field again. And then, boom, interception in the end zone.
Yep.
And then that changed the game, brought life back to the Ravens. And another interception by Baker, a drive or two later, boom. And that was it. And then Ravens just took it and ran it, literally. This turnovers. We talk about it all the time, man. Whoever has the less turnovers, you're going to win, right? But and not all turnovers are created equal, right? So you can have an ugly interception in the first quarter, right? But it may not matter if you still win the game. Look at Patrick Mahomes. He had like 2 interceptions that game against the 49ers.
But remember, the Chiefs have the ref as an offensive player as well.
That is true.
He's on the payroll sometimes. You're not wrong.
That is true. That is true. But I think I want to get to where it's like the good teams can overcome bad play early on because they'll lock in the second half when it's game time and it really matters the most. I know when Paul and I, we play a lot of sports games together. We play a lot. We've been playing a lot of NHL lately, but we like to say that the fourth quarter or the third period in NHL's case, that's where the real game starts. And it seems to be that a lot of this season, a lot of the game really takes place in the second half. Like that's majority of the game right there, where it's like the first half, that was all pregame. This is the second half, that's where the real game begins. And I think that for the Bucs and the Falcons, if you are going to turn it over, obviously no one plans for turnovers, right? Get it out early. Because the later this game goes, the more costly that's going to be for your team. And we've seen it too. We've seen multiple times, and Kevin, you were alluding to it as well, where it's like you've seen what Baker Mayfield's been able to do. He turns it over. And, Kirk Cousins, the same thing too. Who is the more opportunistic team? That's the real question. What team is going to capitalize the most from the mistakes of the other team? And then we'll see that play out on Sunday. But man, it's going to have a big ripple effect for not only this division, and these teams, but also for the rest of the NFL as well.
Yep, I agree. Just like that. If it was without the injuries, even if they were just supposed to take the regular L to the Ravens like they were supposed to, they would have been the team that I would have chose to if it was the Falcons versus the Bucs this week coming up. Obviously the Bucs, because they have their high powered offense that can get down the field. Look, they did it in the beginning quarters versus the Ravens. They did that. They did it just like that. You can't stop Mike Evans once he's healthy. But now that they don't have that, it's more of a gritty game. And just like Chris said, the depth chart is going to be in question. Do you have a good secondary that has been waiting to start this whole time? That we don't know about. That wants to be the number one receiver and wants to be somebody, if not now, the starter, but next year possibly traded to a different team to have a starting option there. So I'm interested to see what's going to happen too. So.
I like it, gentlemen. I like it. I was going to say, you guys have any final thoughts on this game?
Falcons.
Ooh. Hey, we're not picking just yet, but I mean,
okay.
But I think you're itching for it. I think we should start picking some games.
Yeah, we'll get there.
I was going to say,
final thought for this game. I feel like this game is going to be a lot slower than people expect. You know, both of these teams, they showed they have a bunch of flaws in their previous game. I think they're both going to take a step back, take a deep breath, and go back to the roots of what made these teams the record that they are. Running the ball, tough defensive football, close, tight-knit, in the trenches. This game's going to be great.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, yeah, this is going to be some hard-fought football, and I am all for it. So I know, okay, Kevin, you're itching to pick some games. Palmer, you itching to pick some games right now. You guys want to pick some games?
Oh, yeah.
Let's do it. Let's get it.
Let's pick some games for this week. So let's start Thursday night. The Minnesota Vikings coming to LA to play the Rams. Kev, I'll start with you. Who you got for this, my friend?
My boy Sam D. Sam Darnold's cooking. We were talking about him earlier when he was with the Jets, but once you escape hell, there's life. He went to the Panthers. Even though he was on the Panthers, I thought he fit there too. I thought he's this guy that's not afraid, because obviously you can't get beat up more than when you were a quarterback starting for the Jets. You can't. There's not. Everything else is up from there. So he took his beating, he learned, and now look at him shine. Now every week you expect him not doing amazing numbers, but when you have Justin Jefferson on the other side of the field, you have a decent running game. You find an options that he's not. When you look at him play, his head is up the field. There's more than just one option. You could tell when a guy is more single track mind, but you could tell his offensive line is giving him enough time to look around.
Oh, yeah.
And like I said, he did lose, but that I didn't even take that as a loss compared to the whole junction of what a football team can actually be. His team is solid. I like them to win. The Rams, they still have they were not without Aaron Darnold. I mean, are they the Rams?
That remains to be seen.
You know, that's that guy that was in the back, that was in the huddle, that was coming through after, third quarter, the beginning of third quarter, and they're getting fired up to be the Rams. But as you see, Matthew is okay with being the Super Bowl winner that he is because he did that. But I don't know. He's not the guy. He's not the guy that hyped them up. He's their quarterback. Don't get me wrong. He's their quarterback. He's great. But I just don't think that they're going to pull through with that one.
CP, who you got for this one?
Yeah, you got to give me the Vikings too. I'm going to hope that last week was an anomaly. But, once an anomaly, twice a pattern. If the Rams somehow squeak this win out, it may be time to start looking at the Vikings and start throwing some red flags up.
Oh, man. I agree with everything y'all said. I'm picking the Rams. and probably there's a part of me that says I probably shouldn't, but teams that play the Lions don't typically play well the following week. They kind of beaten
Because they're
up.
in pain.
Yeah, they're in a lot of pain. And maybe this is the Rams catching the Vikings just at the wrong time. Or maybe I'm just totally wrong.
Especially on a short week. That is pretty valid.
It is.
It's a short week after playing Detroit.
And meanwhile,
who's home? They're
LA.
the Rams.
Ooh.
So they're on the road on a short week after playing Detroit.
Yeah.
That's a pretty valid. It's valid.
So I'm going to take the Rams in an upset, but I wouldn't be shocked if the Vikings just fucking destroyed the Rams. The Rams defense, they have no defense. And we went into that last week, but their defense is bad. But I mean, they had a layup last week against the Raiders. So,
Yeah.
But now you got to stop Justin Jefferson. That's tough.
Yeah, another.
Oh, man. Let's move to Sunday's slate of games. Let's start in Foxborough, New England, where the Jets come to town to play the Patriots. Chris Palmer, what do you got for this? Did you guys beat up the Jets too bad, or there's still life in there?
I'm gonna go ahead and give this one to New England.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Wow.
I think they're gonna come back from London pretty angry, and I think they're gonna lump up the Jets a little bit.
Ooh. Oh, I was not expecting that. Kevin, who you got for this one?
I was upset that I didn't. I still think the Jets gonna. The Jets might take it to the house. I guess that they're gonna. Well, they're gonna take it to the Patriots' house. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
I feel like,
Okay, you were about to pause for a second. I thought you were about to say the Jets could become a Super Bowl.
oh no! That's is there a meteor coming? Is there?
Did Jesus come from the dead? Like
The Jets winning? This is me trying to play the upset because the Jets. I mean, with Devontae Adams, obviously it's going to him every time. Wilson, yes, he's catching it, but is he really? He's the reason why they kind of lost because he didn't catch everything that was getting thrown to him.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like more of a practice with Devontae and setting up specific runs that Aaron says for Devontae, taking over the team as the head coach and the quarterback. I think we got a Jets win.
I'm gonna take the Jets as well. Coming back from London, that's a tall order, and I think you give Devontae Adams one more week of learning the playbook, which is just basically what Aaron Rodgers likes at this point. So I'm gonna take the Jets. We'll call this one the Ugly Bowl and see who wins.
Ugly Bowl.
Oh man, let's move to Jacksonville, where the Green Bay Packers come on to play the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm gonna take the Packers. I'm not gonna overthink this one. But Kevin, who you got for this?
Same. Like I said before, I just like how he's playing, and it just fits. Like, of course, he was the right choice to take over, Aaron, and Aaron was a great choice. But they're going the right way, and I choose. I love Trevor. Trevor's a good quarterback that just fits the wrong team. Please, just save him, please. He's been there long enough. He has a choice.
He chose the extension. He chose
not
to get
anymore
that extension.
since he's extended, man.
I think they got something in his juice. They took something they put something in his apple juice to make him say, hey, to make him come back.
Make him sign.
It's not pretty over there. They haven't been the same.
They haven't. CP, who you got for this one?
You're gonna have to give me Green Bay. They should have no problems here. Jacksonville is staring down the barrel of a rebuild and a fire sale potentially. So,
oh yeah, oh man. Okay, let's move to Miami, where potentially Tua is returning to the Dolphins. Maybe not. But the Cardinals come to town to play the Dolphins. CP, who you got for this one?
you're gonna have to give me the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals. I would almost call this an upset. I think the Cardinals might upset Miami here. Miami is fit to beat Arizona. I don't know that they will beat Arizona,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes sense. I just don't they do a lot of things well to beat themselves right now.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to give me Arizona.
I like it. Kevin, who you got?
Same. I feel like Arizona. If Tua comes back, we might have some hope. But if he's not due to come back, there's a lot of people like Tyreek that won't be hitting 1,000 this year.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm going to take the Cardinals as well. Dolphins are just a really different team without Tua. And even if he does come back, I'm not sure if there's ever really a right time to come back from a concussion, but this does not seem like the right time. So I'm going to take the Cardinals to beat the Dolphins this week. I'm sorry. Let's move to Cleveland land, where the Ravens take on the Browns. I think we all know who I'm taking for this one, but CP, who you got for this one?
First game with Jameis Winston. I hope the Browns fan base isn't allowed in the building. But you're gonna give me Baltimore. Again, I hope Cleveland doesn't win another game. I don't think the fans deserve it.
I agree. I know as a football team, the Ravens are more a complete package. We've had him. He's not gonna hurt a fly. Okay, he's just gonna probably throw a pick for a touchdown, and it's still not gonna matter. So yes, the Ravens all day.
Chris Palmer, you yawning over there? You sleepy over there?
Yes, sir. It's been a long day.
I understand, my friend. Don't worry. We got a couple more games to pick. So let's move to Cincinnati. We're still sticking in Ohio. Let's move to Cincinnati. Eagles take on the Bengals. Kevin, I'll start with you. Who you got?
So this might be a little picky, but I'm gonna try to choose Frosted Tips Burrow, and I like the fact that they're getting into a groove. Is gonna be more if they watch enough tapes, they can pick apart Jalen Hurts and their staff over there are not really agreeing, and it shows this year. So I think Joe Burrow is gonna get through. I think the Bengals.
I like it. CP, who you got?
Fuck the Bengals. Give me Philly.
Puckered the
Kevin,
lips and everything.
It's a famous quote on this podcast. It's fuck the Bengals.
Fuck the Bengals. Yeah, fuck the Bengals. But I will pick them to win this week. But fuck them, regardless.
Fuck them.
Yeah.
Fuck the Bengals.
Yeah. Let's move to Houston. Let's move to the AFC South. Colts take on the Texans. Nice division rivalry for, divisional purposes. I like it. Kevin, who you got for this one?
If they will start Flacco. I think his experience and the teams, if they play determined, they'll take it.
Mm-hmm.
CJ Stroud and his high-powered offense is still out there. I'm not saying it's not going to be a close game, but it seems like with Flacco at the helm, they kind of make the right decisions and not the wrong decisions when it comes to the Colts. So if I was going to bet money on it, it would be the Colts.
Mm-hmm. CP, who you got?
You're going to have to give me Houston. I just hope it's going to come down to the use of Tank Dell. He was absent last week. Pretty non-existent actually last week. Gave me a goose egg in fantasy. So he needs to be more than non-existent this week for them to come away with this win. But you're going to have to give me Houston.
Now, I'm going to take the Texans. But I do like the Colts, but there is something I want to say. So I like Anthony Richardson as a quarterback. I like his talent, but he's very self-destructive.
Yes,
Either
he is.
When it comes to like putting his body in danger and just decision making on the field. And I know we haven't had a big sample size of Anthony Richardson, but from what I've seen, that's kind of how I would describe him. Now for Joe Flacco, obviously I have nothing but love for Joe Flacco, but who was the team that was able to watch the film last year and really devise a defensive game plan to stifle Joe Flacco? That was the Texans last year in the wild card round. They've seen the tape before. They're able to study, and you gotta give a lot of credit to D'Amico Ryan. We don't talk enough about him and what he's done for this Texans organization. I think he's one of the smartest head coaches in the league. Um, I will take the Texans, but I think this one is going to be one worth watching
Yeah.
and really keep an eye on for this game. Let's move to Detroit, where the Titans take on the Lions in Detroit. CP, you're already shaking your head. I'm guessing you're going with the Titans?
Yeah. What? No. No. Mailman is going to get rolled over by the Lions. Mailman is going to get benched before the third quarter is over.
Taking a couple mayo shots.
Or a couple of key bumps, whatever you want to call it.
Oh, God.
Give it Detroit, and it's not going to be pretty.
Oh, Kevin, who you got?
I got Detroit. Ever since the end of last year, this man Jared Goff has a mission, and just like you said it, I think that mission is to get to the lights, to be there. And
That team would go to hell for Dan Campbell.
because he's the right coach for the job. Even though and remember what I said I liked about Sean Payton and the Saints.
Mm-hmm.
This man is not afraid to make the good call, not the only call, because he doesn't always go for it. But when he does, it's a decisive dagger that continues to keep the momentum going. And
This
that's
year.
why I like him.
That's this year. Last year he kind of just did it to do it.
Last year, he'll bite his own bullet.
Right. And he'll die on that hill.
He'll die on that goddamn field. No, but he's becoming a smarter head coach, and that's a great thing for any organization where everyone is growing. Everyone is growing into the full-fledged potential that they have. Right, Jared Goff, he's playing MVP level right now. It's crazy to think, but he is right in the middle of the MVP conversation right now. It may be early to talk that, but right now, he has a very strong case for it. I'm taking Detroit as well. There's a lot of good happening in Detroit, and there's a lot of bad happening in Tennessee. So let's not overthink it. I'm going to go with Detroit as well. Now, let's go to the NFC South, to the Falcons and Bucs, the game that the second game that we talked about. Who you got winning this game? I will go with you, Kevin, my friend. You said Falcons before. You're going with the Falcons?
I'm still gonna go. I still, as long as it's not a Monday night, Kirk has an opportunity to win. Kirk has an opportunity to win. If it's not Monday,
it's a 1:00 game. So,
hey, I feel like even though Kirk has his downfalls, I think Bijan and then the running game will save him this time, and it's gonna be nothing but positivity. I think that they can wiggle through with it while the Bucs are trying to figure out who's gonna catch the deep ball.
Absolutely, well said. CP, who you got for this one?
This one's tough, man. This one's tough. You're gonna have to give me Atlanta too. I think the absence of Mike Evans is going to be too heartfelt for that offense to get by this week. Atlanta, but it's not going to be a home run. It's going to be a fight game. They're going to be in this game. Tampa's going to be in this game for 4 quarters. It's going to come down to a final possession where having Mike Evans or Chris Godwin on the field is going to would have made all the difference. That's what I see coming.
I totally agree with you on that too. I'm going to take the Falcons as well. Now, but I think we're going to see a different game than we saw the first game. The first game we saw a shootout between Kirk Cousins. Yeah, between Kirk Cousins and Baker Mayfield. Now, I think both teams are going to lean more on the run. And who's running back core do I trust more? And I guess personnel, right? Bijan and Algier, or Rashad White and Irving. I will lean a little bit more towards Bijan and Algier. And I think going into this game, if you asked me a week ago who was going to win this, I was probably going to lean more towards the Bucs.
Yeah.
But that absence of Evans and Godwin, That's killer, man. So I will take the Falcons to win this game and take the lead in the NFC South, which leads us to our first game that we talked about, Saints Chargers. Kevin, I got to ask you right here, right now, who you got for this game? Who's going to win?
I'm gonna fall on my own sword. I'm gonna say the Saints. Let's do it, baby. Let's. If I wasn't still believe, then I wouldn't be a Saints fan. I'm gonna stay with it. I'm a Saints fan, so Saints are gonna kill the Chargers.
I respect it, brother. CP, who you got?
This is another one that could go two ways. Kevin, I love you, but you're gonna have to give me the Chargers.
No,
Jim Harbaugh runs that offense when it comes to his power running. He has that ace package where he has like 4 extra tight ends on the field just to run the ball.
We can't stop in the secondary at all.
And then you get your guys' complications with tackling on defense. It's hard to vote for the Saints right now, fundamentally. So you got to give me the Chargers on that sheer fact alone. Respectfully, right?
Oh man, Kev, I love you, brother. I want to take the Saints, right? But I just. I can't
this
right
time.
now. I can't.
We all watch the tape.
I know.
It's fun to watch.
I know. So I love you, brother, but I gotta take the Chargers on this one. I'm sorry.
I fall on my sword. I know who I should have chose.
I respect it though.
Listen, pride is pride, fam. Is what it is.
Hey, you can come back next week if the Saints would be like, I told you. Oh man. Let's move to Seattle, where the Buffalo Bills take on the Seattle Seahawks. This should be a very interesting game. Chris Palmer, who you got for this one?
You're going to have to give me Seattle. They're at home, coming off of a really tough game. Buffalo is a lot to behold, so does Seattle. This is going to be a close one-possession game. First turnover is probably going to win, but you're going to have to give me Seattle.
Ooh, I like it. Kevin, who you got?
Thinking about that and the side effect that is the home game, if they want to finish the year strong, Seattle has to beat strong teams. And if they can't put Buffalo in their place, which we know Buffalo's a strong team, we know that they're coming off a hot week too. They're going to want to make a statement, but is Buffalo going to punch down? That's all you have to ask. Are you going to now play like you can get to the playoffs indefinitely? Mm-hmm. Or are you going to play down because it's not that much of a big game for you and right. you got a good season record this year and Josh Allen, you don't really have to go run for it. You can throw it to somebody down there blindly. That's how it's going to end. They lose because of the risky plays that Josh normally does when it doesn't call for it. Mm-hmm. There should be no reason why he's had so many interceptions, but when you watch the tapes back, he's just gonna do whatever he wants when it comes down to it. If they wanna get the first down, I guess. So if I was gonna make a choice, it would be Seattle.
Ooh, hey, I respect it honestly, and honestly, you're not wrong in both of what you guys are saying. I'm taking the Bills, and it's so tough to play in Seattle. But man, I want to know if Seattle won because of they are a good team, or they won because they're playing against bad competition, right? And I think that so far, like that 3-game losing streak, it was very telling, man, because those were a lot of the good teams that they lost to, especially that Detroit game. That game was just, but I'm going to take the Bills. I think the Bills can kind of really stay in the fight, but I think this is going to be a very big fight for both teams. But I'll take the Bills. But I think this is going to be a very fun game to watch regardless. Let's move to Washington, where the Chicago Bears take on the Washington Commanders. Now, if Jaden Daniels was playing, this would be first and second overall draft picks against each other. But looks like it's going to be Caleb and Marcus Mariota. Chris Palmer, who you got for this one?
Has it been confirmed that Jaden Daniels will not be in on Sunday?
I don't know.
Is he on Sunday?
I would assume so. I haven't seen a report as of yet, but
Let me look real quick before I make my pick. I'm sorry.
Because that may change it.
Kevin Daniels misses practice, continuing a week of uncertainty as of 10 minutes ago.
Mhm.
So it's going to be indicative on if he plays. He missed practice today.
Mm-hmm.
So signs do not show him playing on Sunday if he misses practice on a Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
I think on that precedent, I think you still have to give me Washington.
Ooh.
That team is chippy, and I like the way they're coached.
Mm-hmm.
You know me, I got a soft spot for the Bears. I don't got so much of a soft spot for Caleb Williams.
Mm-hmm.
He leaves a lot to be desired. But it should be if the Bears do win, it's a conversation piece.
True.
Absolutely. Kevin, who you got?
I think the Bears have a really good, very exceptional defense. They play hard on defense all the time. I share the same sites with you, Chris. The quarterback for the Bears, he's young, he's a rookie, and yes, he needs time to develop. Will he be able to take advantage of the fact that Jaden Daniels isn't there? As far as what I've seen with Mariota on the field, they still got something to worry about. That he's agile, he can get the ball where it needs to be. I like what I saw. I don't think that they will have too much of a heartbeat skip. I think I'll still pick Washington.
I respect it. I'm going to take Chicago. I do like Washington, and if Jaden Daniels was playing, and I'm with you, CP. I don't think he's going to play this week. Signs don't really show that. If he was playing, I would take Washington. But the Bears, I got to give credit to them. Every week they've gotten better. That's what you want to see out of a very, especially young quarterback, right? But the people around him are not young, like the wide receivers, like the running backs and the offensive line. They've all vets, But Caleb is the one rookie, but he has gotten better as the weeks have gone on. I'll take the Bears. I think this is going to be a very close matchup. Even despite Jaden Daniels not being there, I think this is going to be like one of those one-possession games. So I'm really excited for this one. Let's move to Vegas, where the Chiefs take on the Raiders. Now, let's keep in mind the last team to beat the Chiefs were the Raiders. Chris Palmer's falling asleep over here. I'm taking the Chiefs.
I'm not falling asleep. This game is just going to be a snooze.
Well said. Well said. Who you got, though?
Chiefs. This is going to be a roll, dude. Come on.
Yep. It's gonna be first quarter. They're gonna try to look like they have some life, and then somehow with the newly acquired, chess piece,
the Raiders are walking in, bleeding out.
Yep.
They're walking in, bleeding out.
After what you just discussed, the middle linebacker might want to get up out of there.
Right.
Ooh.
If Max Crosby leaves before Sunday, they're screwed.
Oof.
Oh, they're screwed either way. We'll take the Chiefs. We kind of know how this story's going to go. And like Carolina and Denver, right? They play in Denver, but we kind of figure it's going to be Denver over Carolina, right?
Yeah. I think that's the general consensus. I don't think.
Okay.
That's not even a question.
Okay. Which then leads us to the Sunday night primetime game. The Dallas Cowboys going into San Francisco to play the Niners. Kev, who you got? Who you got?
Come on.
You got the Cowboys?
They may be.
Oh, you just disrespected him.
Let's leave Jerry Jones alone. Let's say a miracle happens and they get a couple scores. They still won't win.
Oof.
They still won't win. Sorry. Purdy lost to Patrick, and the way how he looked that day, he looked defeated. So Shanahan is not going to have that of his team anymore. He's not. So, 49ers.
CP, who you got?
You're gonna have to give me the Cowboys on this one.
I am surprised.
Kevin, I have no love for the Cowboys, but I have to give them this win because of the injuries to San Francisco. They are the healthier team going in every single key position. You're going to have to give me the Cowboys for this one.
The bye week.
Yeah, and this is the week where I think Parsons and Lawrence come back off their bye week.
Okay.
So they should have some firepower on defense. I'm going to take the 49ers as well. Reason being is because, like a teacher giving the same test to a student, the 49ers and Cowboys, we've seen this before year after year after year. The same test is given to the Cowboys year after year after year, and they keep failing the tests, and every loss is worse than the one previously.
Yeah.
So, but this is a different season, right? Anything happens any given Sunday. I do think the Cowboys will try to keep it close, but I'm going to pick the Niners to ultimately win it. CP, you're surprising me today with this pick, man.
You got somebody on his fantasy team. You fine.
No, wait.
I was on my fantasy team.
No, wait, CP. Which brings us to the Monday night. It's the Giants and Steelers.
The Bills versus the best quarterback room in the league.
Are you going to surprise me and pick the Giants?
No. No, I'm not. The Steelers should have no problem winning this game if the Russell Wilson of last week shows up. If the Russell Wilson of year one in Denver shows up, we could very well lose that game. Let's hope that man's long gone.
They'll swap him out.
You ain't lying.
You guys got options.
You ain't lying. We got the quarterback room.
So,
Kev, who you got?
I choose the Steelers for sure. But just in case Russell can't do it, they'll just throw in Justin, and then they'll continue to do it.
Right.
Najee Harris is looking full steam.
Full steam ahead.
It's you guys are really good this year. I'm not gonna lie. I watch the struggles of your older days where you were fighting to see who can replace Ben, and then that question hasn't been answered because the years of that pocket passer is gone. And even if so, these guys really aren't. Let's just break it down. If they use the gadget or specific plays for Justin Fields, you could have both of them on the get some play time to fit a scheme of that one play. Once the depth, I think the Giants game will be what can you guys do now that you have both guys healthy.
Right. Now it's going to be go out and play, have some fun.
Yeah. And then we'll start to see some gadget, laterals that I've been seeing for these other teams.
Just
a live lateral?
Just please leave jet sweep in the trash can. Leave that shit in the trash can.
Thank you. It was there with that. It's there with that.
Leave that shit with Matt Canada in the fucking past. I've seen too many jet sweeps in the last fucking 3 years. I never want to see one again.
Yeah.
Leave fucking jet sweep alone.
Forever. The flea flicker, throw that in the trash. We've seen it.
Throw it in the trash. Goodbye.
But I've seen some creative lateral wide receiver to quarterback back. Oh my god! Every wide receiver can throw now. Every time tight end sneaks. I don't know. You guys got Fire Booth. You guys got a lot of people out there. So,
Kevin, who you got?
Steelers moved to 6-2. Big shout out to Najee. He's having a really good year. So
yes.
I'll take the Steelers.
There you go. All right, guys. There it is. There's our picks for the week. Kevin, thank you so much for coming on this week. It was such a fun conversation to have about the Saints and about these two games coming up. Everybody listening, please leave a like, a comment, subscribe. Again, for every like of this video, we will donate $1 to the breast cancer fund. Yeah, if you guys want to come in for an interview, please message either Halpin or myself. There is still some room for the end of the year. We just contact us. We will schedule you guys a game. But until then, until next week.
Thank you for having me.
Of
Of course, thank you again.